lot of people in sort of pop culture thinking that this could be the end for Bitcoin.
Yeah, so well, the dip that you're talking about is actually nothing new for Bitcoin. As far as percentage terms go, if we look at it historically, we've seen these types of pullbacks before.
We've seen these kinds of pullbacks before. That's CEO Marty Greenspan, founder of Quantum Economics, Quantum Expeditions, Cora Finance, Quantum Smash. I mean, how many things are you building? It's insane. I can't keep up. You are a builder at heart, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that recording from 8 years ago, and I'm going to say the same thing today. We've seen these type of pullbacks before. It literally is nothing changes, nothing new under the sun, man. It's Bitcoin total of 52% pullback from the all-time high to the lows that we saw. When was it? February the 5th. Let me share my screen for you.
Sure.
Not a big chart, but it is Bitcoin.
There we go.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. So if we'll do 1 day per candlestick, and there's the all-time high was 126,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this handy dandy tool over here that does a price check or a range check. That would be. Why am I having trouble finding my? This is embarrassing. I just used it. Whatever. So yeah, we use the Fibonacci just for.
I love the Fibonacci.
But I just checked it. It's about 52% from peak to trough, and yeah, we're sitting there. I just spoke with CoinDesk. They were talking about Mike McGlone. He's at it again. He says, no, 10,000 is not the bottom. It could go below 10,000. And I'm like, I can double face palm. And we just discussed this. And so, yeah, I just said, look, you know what? We're going to 10 million. That's it. Case closed. If the game is who can throw out a more extreme number, I'm going to win this game. So yeah, that's my analysis, and I'm sticking by it. You there, Matt?
That was weird.
Yeah. I don't know what happened just now.
That is crazy. There's always tech stuff that goes on. I don't know.
Military activity in my neighborhood.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes. Could be. They mess with the internet. I know that they mess with GPS. If I'm using like Google Maps, and there's because they use GPS for targeting.
Oh.
So they like it'll show that I'm in Lebanon or something.
Oh geez.
Yes, definitely seen that before.
Yeah. Did you want to bring up that your chart again there?
I could, yeah. I think I did it already.
All right.
But happy to share again. There's that all-time high level.
Let's see. Why am I not? There we go. All right. So the all-time high, yeah. 126.
There it is. Price range tool. Boom. Boom. 52.7% peak to trough. That is quite a classic, Bitcoin bull market pullback. I mean, I remember 2017 we had several pullbacks that were bigger than 50%. That was just within 2017 alone. And the old Bitcoin behavioral pattern that the old all-time high becomes the new support is holding up extremely well. that was the case. 2014 high became support in 2017. 2017 high became support in 2021, and so, or 2023, I should say. And so this is the pattern. And so if we're now, all-time high of 69K from 2022, 2021, all-time high 69,420, that's the level of support. So now we're in that comfortable buy box, accumulation zone. That's what I'm seeing. But obviously, whenever we're presenting charts, we need to give that usual disclaimer: past performance does not indicate future results, and yada yada yada.
Not financial advice, but maybe a darn good life suggestion.
It's not an official disclaimer, but okay.
Works for me.
Love it when you say it. It is
been working since 2017.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So tell me about, what was this thing with CoinDesk? They were asking you to speak on the price of Bitcoin this morning, and you're just getting crazy now. Like you're basically going the opposite direction of Mike McGlone over there at Bloomberg. Is that what I hear? You're throwing out just crazy targets now.
I mean, look, no, it's possible for Bitcoin to hit 10 million. I mean, but it would look. Mike McGlone's suggestion of 10,000 or below is so ridiculous. When you're analyzing and you're giving it a proper analysis, you're supposed to give like, what are the conditions that would need to happen in order for this price target to play out?
Mm-hmm.
And for a price target of 10,000 to play out, I mean, I gave the conditions for CoinDesk. I said it would mean nuclear war, the internet stopped working, like no internet, Bitcoin doesn't really have much value at that point. And so that would make sense. But we're in a world where institutional adoption is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
We have a US administration which is very Bitcoin friendly, like whoever dreamt of that. There's more and more financial products being built on top of Bitcoin every single day. I don't see any reason even for the current pullback. I think the market got it completely wrong, and the reason the market got it wrong is because we have all of this institutional adoption. These are relatively new players, and so if there's geopolitical turmoil, that should serve to serve as a safe haven, right? Just like gold does. But because all of the new players are weak-handed because they don't know Bitcoin, it's not familiar with you. When you're really scared, you reach for something that's familiar, right? And gold is that thing for institutional players. Bitcoin is not that thing at this point in time. It is for me. I'm sure it is for you. But for the institutional players who've been doing most of this buying, over the last 2-3 years, I can understand that it's not their go-to source of comfort.
Sure.
In the face of World War III.
And I think that probably says a lot to the narrative of like you said, what they're used to. And I think younger managers, folks who are in that position, probably have a proclivity more to lean towards a digital asset than gold. I think we've seen even the ETF inflows as of late have picked back up for Bitcoin.
Yeah, and we can check that if you like.
Oh, I always love checking the flows.
Checking
the flow. I'm going to have some more flow.
I don't want to comment on on that, but
check the flow.
Watch yourself. Shake your butt.
It's just past 8:20 here in the morning on the West Coast. So we're getting into the flow.
There you go. All right, here we go. Yes, I would definitely say last 3 weeks have been positive flows for Bitcoin ETFs. If you can,
make that bigger.
Our camera is covering. Yeah, the camera's covering the chart. There we go. Okay, this is weekly. So yeah, last 3 weeks have been positive flows, and Okay, so here's the month of March. February was slightly negative.
Mm-hmm.
Month of March is quite positive. And then, yeah, that cumulative flow, we're still talking about, 663,000 Bitcoin. And then this is the holdings over time. And so you can see that the institutions did, pull back their holdings from where they were October 10th, unironically, is the peak. That flash crash definitely scared a lot of folks. And they've pulled back, but it's not something that is like a major setback. So for this to have caused a 50% retracement, right? For them offloading some of their portfolio to have caused a 50% retracement, I mean, to me, it's quite enough. The narrative hasn't changed. The dynamics haven't really changed. I think the only thing that's really changed is the war and how people feel about markets given that. The question really becomes like when does the war end, right? And then what happens next? And that's where I feel like we discussed that on the spaces a bit yesterday, but it's very difficult to know. I mean, Donald Trump says it's going to end soon. Here in Israel, we've been at war for 2.5 years, so we're tired of this shit. But last night we had nonstop air raid sirens, like the entire night. And yeah, it's but the Navy, the Iranian Navy's done. They never really had much of an air force to begin with. They don't have. We took out their air defenses last summer in the 12-day war completely, so their skies are defenseless. We can basically bomb the IRGC targets with impunity. The issue is that if regime change is the goal, as Donald Trump stated in the beginning of this war, can that really be accomplished from air and sea without a ground invasion? And a ground invasion, obviously, I mean, Trump doesn't have a whole lot of support for this war, I think, certainly not among Congress and probably not among constituents as well. A ground invasion, I think, would be completely out of the question for the United States. I'm pretty sure there's not many Israelis that want to go in there. And so then they're talking about like arming the Kurds. And maybe the Kurds might be crazy enough to take on that responsibility, but I mean, that would certainly entail you understand, Iran is huge. It's a huge country. It's almost as big as Europe. And the terrain favors home turf. Right? It's very rocky, mountainous terrain. Anybody, and the defensive positions clearly have a major advantage there, even with full air support. And so the hope is that, the Iranian people will come stand up and rise to the occasion and overthrow their own government. But even that is going to be like a difficult situation because they don't have the fighting experience. And, even if there's only 5 or 10% support for the IRGC, that still means they've got, more than 1 million people that are ready to fight and are heavily armed.
Yeah.
And that's difficult. And, to answer, I mean, I want you also to feel free, because there's a lot of misinformation out there these days. And if anybody's watching, is curious about what's actually happening and how it's seen from our perspective as Israelis or Jewish people, I'm very happy to answer openly and honestly about this stuff.
I think it's got to be really hard, really quick, to disseminate a lot of what is fact and what is fiction. Some of these news stories that I've seen, even coming across my timeline, they obviously are AI enhanced. They're rather sus, to be honest. But I think it's we're in an information war as well, as far as propaganda and stuff that's being put out. And obviously with how good AI is now, you know, I saw something the other day and honestly, I didn't know. And I'm like, are they really raining that many rockets on Tel Aviv? And then like, you're like, no, that's a bunch of bullshit. It didn't happen. It was fake. It was AI.
Yeah. And so we're getting several air raid sirens per day. The 12-day war last summer was much worse because they were sending 10, 20, 30 rockets at a time in an attempt to swarm the missile defense, because if they send a volley of a lot of rockets, they hopefully can get one or two through, which worked. It actually did work, and we took on casualties, not nearly as much as some people are saying, but yeah, there were several casualties in the last war. There were a few apartment blocks that got hit by those ballistic missiles. They pack a punch. During this round, it's not nearly as intense. I mean, I'm not even bothering to go to the shelter most of the time.
Really?
Yeah, we'll hear an explosion or two in the sky. You can hear boom, like you hear the air raid siren. A few minutes later, boom, and it's far away. I mean, where I am is not at all a target for ballistic missiles. I mean, I'm in the Shomron, or the in Samaria area. We've got a lot of Arabs around us. I can actually show you on the map where I live.
Yeah, you should do that.
And can you still see my screen here?
Let me just pull it up here really quick. Like Greenspan. No, I can't see. You got to share it again. There it is. There it is.
Yeah. So here's Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Jordan over here. And so I'm here in what's commonly known as the West Bank area. You take the 5 out this way. So this is the town that I live in. And so if a missile's traveling from up here, right, it could hit here, right, which is an Arab settlement. It could hit here, here, or if it overshoots, it's here. But I mean, we're like thin strip.
Yeah, look at that.
The chances that it hits us, it's next to nothing. There was one rocket from Lebanon that came pretty close in the beginning of the war, and it fell right here. But it was still closer to hitting, an Arab settlement than the city that I live in. Lebanon, of course, up here. A lot of action over this border.
That's what we see in the news. A lot of headlines from that area. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Iran, I mean, just to give you Iran is this whole thing from all the way up here, all the way down to here. So it's massive. And then here's the Strait of Hormuz that everybody's talking about. Iranian Navy is basically toast at the moment. They don't have any warships left, but now they're talking about like setting up mines and stuff, which does give tankers a scare, anyways.
Well, yesterday we saw the U.S. Military, as Trump said, took out 16 Iranian boats. I was surprised that they even had any boats left. What are they using? Like little inflatable Zodiacs now? Are they taking like little 15-foot Livingstons and rowing out there and driving? How do they even have any boats left? What are they using? I guess seriously.
I don't know. I saw some pictures of those little, like, kind of almost like kayaks, basically, like motorized kayaks.
They're taking kayaks out, huh?
It's not serious, but water, like mines, those can take out an oil tanker.
Oh yeah.
And I don't think that they've even managed to plant any mines. I mean, there's an aircraft carrier right over here.
Yeah.
We're watching them closely. And I mean, this whole place is a major shipping lane. Like, people can see what's going on there. Like, there's eyes all over the place. So I don't think that there's any real possibility of them actually successfully downing an oil tanker, but just the threat itself is enough, to send oil prices to where they've been. So here's oil over the course of this war. This is weekly charts, so let's zoom in a little bit. Here's one candlestick per day.
Yeah.
Here's the 4 hours. So yeah, so this was a weekend. If you'll remember, weekend gaps that can be brutal. The war started on a weekend, and when the war opened, when the markets opened, it opened up with a gap up, right? That's where the open is, and then it went down, didn't quite fill the gap, and it started going up immediately. And then the next weekend afterward, huge gap. That gap's already been filled. But yeah, a high of 112. So for crude oil, to hit 112, I mean, that's a lot.
And look at that sharp pullback too. I mean, it went right up, came right back, and that to me says that there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear in the market when it comes to that on the oil.
Yeah, and we've been talking about uncertainty in the financial markets well before the war, just even as people were positioning ahead of the war, because people knew it was coming, and we knew it was coming. I've been talking about it for more than 2 months, if you'll remember.
Yep.
Like, everybody here knew it was coming. We didn't know what the level that Donald Trump would be involved in, the United States military would be involved in this. In fact, if you'll remember, I heard a lot of people accusing Israel of dragging Trump into the war. I've even heard conspiracy theorists say, well, Israel must have some sort of dirt on Trump in order for Trump to be like beholden to them. Actually, I just want to remind people that in the 12-day war last June, it was Donald Trump who stopped the war. So if you'll remember a very specific interview where Trump used the F word. You remember that one?
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was I remember it very well, because that's the day we came out of the bomb shelters. He said, "Those guys have been bombing each other so long they don't know what the fuck they're doing."
Yep.
And then that turned into a meme, and it turned into a song. It was a great remix. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so that's when the war stopped. It literally stopped like that. And so it was Trump who stopped it. And so if it was us trying to tell him what to do, like, why would he have stopped it? Right? Because we wanted to end it then. And for the record, had we ended it then, the protesters that ended up going in, and by some estimates, 30 or 40,000 protesters were killed by the IRGC in the last 2 months. So had we been able to finish the job back then, Trump didn't try and stop us, maybe those protesters would have had a leg to stand on. I don't know what changed in Trump's mind or in the United States strategy, but one thing that we can look at is the other actions, which must be forming some sort of a cohesive strategy for the White House. Kidnapping Nicolas Maduro, right? The cartel boss, what was his name? Mencho. And even Lindsey Graham saying Cuba is next.
Yeah.
This is, in my mind, a great sweeping move, both to eradicate evil dictators and as far as we can see, to limit China's oil supply. And we've been talking a lot about the great energy race and the energy wars. China even blocking oil exports as late as last week. I mean, this is very telling of them at least positioning themselves to hold on to their energy, because energy is vital to success it's vital to, if there's any sort of a war, you definitely want it.
Yep. So you say war and then your internet freezes. I certainly hope you're okay. I hope you're not under attack right now. I guess this is the world we live in when you have rockets and missiles being fired at you. There we go. Now he's back.
There was no alert at that time. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, anybody who's watching, if you do have questions, feel free to reply on the tweet that I sent just now. Yeah, I'm watching my Twitter notifications at the moment. But yeah, energy is super important when it comes to when it comes to the success of an economy. In fact, there's a direct correlation, and we don't even know. I think I would say that the more energy an economy has, the more successful it's going to be, rather than the other way around. I think the energy is more like, if you have a lot of energy, then you're gonna have a great economy. Because people find ways to use that energy, and those ways, those ways are become profitable. So there's always some level of monetization, and so getting rid of Venezuela and putting a puppet government in there, I think we have to see that as the Chinese angle, and where their oil is coming from. So I just asked ChatGPT, where does China get their energy from?
Iran and Venezuela.
Yeah, basically. Oil. Okay, so they have coal. 50% of their 50 to 60% is coal, which coming from Mongolia and Shanxi.
I would submit this to you. Here's a piece of real solid fundamental analysis that you can't see on a chart, but I can see outside my window every effing day. And that's that we have these trains that go right in front of our house. And I live on the West Coast in Seattle. And these trains, they're big, gigantic coal trains loaded top to the brim with coal. And they're being sent up to Vancouver, Canada, to Tawasin. There's a big terminal out there. And guess what? They load all that coal on the ships and they send it over to China. And during the pandemic, we saw a massive decrease, almost zero coal trains going in front of our house. Now that, obviously, because their coal plants were shut down during the pandemic, they shut everything down, right? And we heard about that. But now, subsequently, since everything's kind of moved back online, we've seen the frequencies of these coal trains pick up exponentially. And again, they're all going to China. So they love themselves some coal. Big time.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it does say that coal is mostly domestic, coming from Mongolia and Shanxi. And then oil, they're getting roughly 12 to 13% from Iran. And Venezuela, 4 to 5% of their oil. So I would say that it's not going to stop their business as usual, And however, even Saudi Arabia exports have to be affected by what's happening now, in that region.
Didn't I see the Saudis are moving over to the Red Sea side now?
They could be, and we discussed that, I think, on the last stream. I mean, Saudi Arabia has access to the other side, and they don't have to be using the Strait of Hormuz. But I believe where they would then need to send it through a train or through actual trucks all the way across the desert.
Right.
Which it's not impossible, but it's not
price goes up.
Yeah, it's not how their economy is set up. It's a pain in the butt, and definitely price goes up. And so I think China's gonna be doing business as usual, but if the idea here is that an energy war, then I mean that is certainly going to impact China. I was even researching, like, how is this going to affect the war in Ukraine, right? Because I know that Russia gets a lot of their drones from Iran, but apparently people were telling me no, that Russia's already got their own manufacturing set up using the Iranian technology. So they've got some sort of agreement there where they're leasing the technology.
One thing that I saw to substantiate that was that they were sending oil through the Caspian Sea there in exchange for the technology. Bloomberg Investigates does a wonderful job, and they had a documentary on that. I believe it was the Caspian Sea right there. Yeah, up north. Yep. So they would take those oil tankers and send them up, and they'd meet up in the northern part of the Caspian Sea, and they would swap oil for goods back and forth.
Yeah.
Or whatever they needed to do. But a lot of this was done via the Iranian tankers.
Yeah, that makes sense because Iran and Russia don't share a direct border. They'd have to go through Azerbaijan or Armenia and Georgia, and both Armenia and Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan. These three countries, they're not necessarily be part of whatever Russia and Iran have going on. And so if Iran wants access to Russia, that's their route, is right through that sea.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Another story that came up on my timeline, I want to bring this up, is again, this cat and mouse game that the U.S. And China are involved in right now in the Middle East. And that's this story here. I'll maximize it here, bring it up. China's spy ship. They've got a big spy ship. The Laowing 1 is sailing off the coast of Oman, collecting intelligence on every U.S. military asset in the area and feeding it directly to Iran. The U.S. knows it's there, what it's doing, and we can't do a thing about it because if we strike it, then it's really World War III. So you've got China right there in the area, kind of stirring the pot a little bit and not making things easy for U.S. Military operations trying to navigate around that.
If if the positioning is known to everyone, is it really a spy?
Well, true.
Maybe we call it a surveillance ship.
Yeah, it's a surveillance ship.
I guess spy makes for a nicer headline, right?
It's less characters, yeah,
Yeah, even their own website seems to classify it as a spy ship. I think this is their own website. Actually, I have no idea what graydynamics.com is or what it represents, but yeah, point being, it makes sense. I mean, but what can Iran really do with that information at this point? Iran has no centralized leadership or dissemination of information or decision-making abilities at this point. We've cut off their head essentially on day one. I mean, case in point, the fact that they're sending missiles at Bahrain and Qatar and Dubai, like they've got to be out of their mind. They don't have any centralized information. They don't have any centralized decision making. So day one, the first strike of the war, that's when Khomeini was killed.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand that that was done at a time when they were having some sort of a internal high-level meeting, and that's why the timing of this war was as such, was because of that meeting where there was clearly an opportunity to make that strike. Now, the new leader of Iran supposedly is this guy, Mojtaba Khomeini, who's Ali Khomeini's son.
I heard that he was dead now. Do we know if is he alive or dead?
That is it, right? Because they had a coronation ceremony.
Oh, and they brought a cardboard cutout. Yes.
Brought out a cardboard cutout of the guy.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fake news for sure.
But that's real. That's actually a real story. Yeah. That
is actually what happened.
Yeah.
The dude kissing the cardboard. I mean, it's not even good cardboard. Look, you can see the dents.
Yeah.
Cut a box And so we have no proof of life from this guy. He has not been seen or heard from. There's no recent audio or video of him other than AI stuff that, the Iranian government's put few propaganda pieces out there since day one of the war. So he could, for all we know, could have been in that, could be dead by now. But the way that Iran is set up is that it does have, as far as my understanding, they have many different provinces, and each of the provinces has its own commander. And so, with lack of orders from the top, they just kind of splinter out into provinces, and each commander, they're all. It's very dogmatic. It's a very religious war that they're, from their perspective, this is a holy war. Not from ours. We don't we don't believe in holy wars. We believe in practicality and self-defense. But as far as they're concerned, I mean, this is a holy war, and each of the commanders that has, access to missiles, they're going to start sending them wherever they can. Qatar being a target, like, nobody could have seen that coming. Like, literally, Qatar are Hamas's, they're Hamas's boss. They negotiated.
Yeah, right.
They negotiated with us on Hamas's behalf. So they were on Hamas's side of the table. They've been harboring Hamas leaders, right? So the Hamas leaders, as soon as October 7th happened, they were all in Qatar when it happened. And that's where they stayed until Israel sent we attacked the hotel that they were staying in. And the next day, there was a ceasefire, actual ceasefire. That's the deal that brought all of our hostages home. The last hostages that were remaining, that they all came home right after we attacked Qatar. Because as soon as Qatar understood we're serious, I guess they pressured Hamas into staying out. So for Iran to attack Qatar, I mean, what good that does them, it's baffling. So what it just shows is that there isn't any sort of it basically, Iran is acting like a chicken without a head. You ever seen a chicken without a head?
I've seen some YouTube videos, yes.
Yeah, I've seen it actually happen, man. Literally, we had that chicken for dinner, but you cut the head off. Yeah, because when you cut chicken's head off, it doesn't stop moving. It starts running around. Usually, I mean, in a slaughterhouse, they'll put it inside of a bucket or something so that it can't do anything. But if you just set it on the ground, it'll start running, and just from muscle memory. And so I think that's where Iran is at the moment. And as far as I understand, and from, I think, the few U.S. officials were saying that that's not all. It's like we also were jamming their communications. And that's why, I think it was day 2 or 3, they had a big meeting to choose the next leader of Iran. There were and we bombed the whole building, killing 88 people who were supposed to be choosing the next leader. And so anybody with a brain's like, why would they have that big meeting? And I understand that the internet in Iran is already down for all intents and purposes. But we've also been jamming their communication systems. If that's the case, then what might be confusing is the coordination, because we have received a few, not a lot, but at least a few attacks recently that both Lebanon and Iran were sending us missiles at the same time. And so clearly they do have some sort of a communication going with Hezbollah, who is the Iranian faction in Lebanon. We'll just call them that for argument's sake at this point. Their relationship is a bit more complicated than that in practice, but they're basically a proxy for Iran. They're funded by Iran. And Lebanon has now said any Iranian generals coming into Lebanon are going to get arrested on site. They don't want this. Like the government doesn't want this war anymore, even though there's not much they can do to like kick Hezbollah out. Hezbollah are heavily armed.
Let me ask you this: as we close in here near the top of the hour, how do you see this playing out? How does this end? How does this conflict come to a resolution?
I don't know, man. It could end tomorrow, the same way the last one did, right? Trump says, "Hey, we won. We're done." He can say it in 5 minutes from now. He could literally just stand up and say, "Okay, we killed their leaders. We killed their ships. We killed their navy. We've gotten, and you better not start again because we'll come after you again." And they will be quiet because they have nothing to fight with right now. But if there is no popular uprising and there's no Kurdish forces going in, then the IRGC continues to maintain control of Iran, and they will at some point rearm, because that's what Muslim fundamentalists do. They keep the peace for as long as they're weaker, and then only once they know that they can win, that's when they start attacking. It's part of their whole strategy in this holy war. So that seems to me at this point the most likely outcome is Trump gets up and says, "Okay, we won," declares victory. Ipso facto, the United States won. They did. There's a lot to say, hey, we won. Like, there's a victory here. But regime change, it hasn't happened yet. And so after that, either the leadership is going to become somewhat less oppressive of the people, because they don't want another, like, obviously if they go out immediately and start beating women for showing their hair, people are going to say, "Fuck this shit," and they're going to overthrow them at the cost of their own lives. So they're going to have to at least modify their stance towards the people somewhat, and have some sort of a softening. Also, they just don't have the same amount of power that they used to have, and they've been completely embarrassed on the world stage. The only other option really is, I mean, I had, in the beginning of this war, like I had some sort of like imagination that they're going to fly in Reza Pahlavi, the exiled prince. He's going to come and land, and then he's going to wave his hand, and everybody's going to cheer, and, then hold some sort of elections. But that just doesn't seem to be likely anymore. It doesn't seem like the reality of that can happen.
Why is that? Is that because the Trump and the allies don't want him in power, or is it because there's a bad history from his family line when his father or what was the Shah, or what is the reasoning behind that? Just curious.
No, well, I don't think Trump would care. I don't think his personal history, or I mean, I don't think any of that really matters. I mean, Reza Pahlavi wasn't supposed to come in to be a dictator. He was supposed to, as he said, he'd come in and hold a free and fair election. And so then you'd have some sort of, royal family adjacent to an actual government, or like a figurehead royal family, similar to the United Kingdom, or even Thailand. But many places have old dictatorship. They're still there. They wave to the people. They come to events, but they don't have any real power to govern. Right. Only ceremonial. And so that would be interesting. But why it doesn't happen, I think, is because the IRGC is standing there with guns. Just like, really, you fly a plane into Tehran, they're going to shoot it up. There's no way of saying.
So if the IRGC is the biggest problem and hurdle, how does one eliminate them? I don't think you can really do that from the air with just sorties and airstrikes. You're probably going to have to put some boots on the ground, I would imagine, or something, right?
That is the crux of this. That is literally the crux of it. You've named it. This is basically what I've been saying. You
I don't
can't.
think anybody wants to put boots on the ground in there. I don't think from a U.S. perspective.
Nobody can. Also, nobody can. It's not even if there was, even if there were like strong support for this war. There's not strong support for this war in the United States. I don't know if you've noticed.
No.
But even if there were, we're estimating that Iran has somewhere around 1 million troops.
Wow.
How many U.S. troops are going to go in there? I mean, we could probably, like, in a pinch, put together 350,000 from conscripts.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying coordinated United States, Israel, and the Kurds. Let's say Azerbaijan took a little piece, right? They could technically, take a little bit more land from here. Turkey's not going to help. Turkey's not anywhere near. They actually much more closer to Iran than anybody else. But who else? KSA is. You think Mohammed bin Salman's going to put troops in Iran? I mean, maybe, but like that large coordinated effort. Okay, so Kurds, U.S., Israel, and KSA. It could happen, but it would mean that there would be a lot of casualties on all sides, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. And so, it's a deadlock. This is a Mexican standoff. You can't get rid of the evil people without people dying, and nobody wants to die. So evil people are this is why they've been there for so long to begin with. Good thing for us as far as Israel is concerned. Good thing Trump was willing to go in with us on this one. Honestly, we could have done this ourselves, but there's nothing. I mean, we in the 12-day war, we had complete dominance of their airspace. Mm-hmm. There was only one attack from the B-2 bomber. That one thing where it's okay. We wanted to get that one nuclear site, and we needed those specific equipment to do it. Could we have destroyed their navy? Probably it would have taken us longer, but having those aircraft carriers certainly helped. But
there were reports I just saw the other day that the U.S. was dusting off the old B-52 Stratofortress, sending them over to bases in the UK, and those obviously carry some big payloads. I think those were the ones that were used. I think you mentioned in those attacks in Iran back in the day. It's not back in the day, but you know what I mean. Last year when they struck those nuclear facilities, apparently. But those B-52s can carry a very specific payload with those JDAMs and those bunker busting bombs.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, they can. But I think that's where we're at right now. I would not doubt it that Trump within the next 6 hours is going to get up on the stage and say the war's over.
You think so?
What else do they have? They've bombed all the targets that they need to bomb. They bombed as many IRGC buildings as we know of. I mean, I don't think that there's any other major targets. I mean, clearly they still have missile capabilities, but I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where we can get rid of that entirely from the air. Again, that's the sort of thing that requires a ground invasion. And so we could spend another 5 days, bombing ballistic missiles, and yeah, that'll help, but not so much. Because from where they're at now to the point of where they become a threat again, it's anyways 5 years. They need to build up a few years at least, unless they get lucky with their nuclear program and manage to get a hold of some nuclear bomb that they can send our way. That would suck. But for them to build up their missile capabilities again, it's going to take years. And so At least two. I mean, I'm not like, expert on that, but I would say, what's the difference between what they have now versus zero? It's not that big of a deal. So we spend another 5 days with everybody screaming war is bad and you guys are evil and blah blah blah. It's not worth it. And so I think, in my mind, it could end today, but who knows? It could go on for another 5 days or so. I think it would be lovely if, if we could, if Iranians would get up and overthrow the government. But after 30,000-40,000 deaths, I mean, that's a lot to ask from them. That's a lot to ask. I mean, those are the people that would have been involved in this revolution. They were the most motivated to get rid of the government, and obviously, their families are hurting now, and the facts haven't changed. I mean, the fact that we got rid of the government buildings and got rid of their ballistic missiles and got rid of their navy, none of that really helps the protesters. The protesters are facing the guys with the guns on the street. And those people are still there. We can't get rid of them from the sky.
Sounds like there needs to be a new rebel faction on the ground from the Iranian people, supported by maybe outside interests from the U.S., Israel, and other nations that might be inclined to support them with money, funding, weapons, etc.
Yeah, let's hope so. Anyways, appreciate this stream. I gotta go on to the next one.
Yep. Look forward to the next time we chat. And don't forget, about 45 minutes from now, we're going to move the conversation over to X. Matt Hatter and I are doing our AI Web3 Wednesday. And we've had some powerful discussions talking about AI, AGI. What does that mean for the future? I'm so excited to get into that today. I will see you there. But you're about to hop on to another stream you got coming up.
Yes, RWA assets. I find it now with the Mario crowd.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I don't have the link to that. I wonder if they sent it to me.
I told them I had a prior engagement, so I was not going to be able to attend. I was invited as well, but that is something that's right in your wheelhouse, in my wheelhouse. RWAs, tokenization of assets. It should be a dynamic conversation. Our friends over there at Mario Roundtable do a great job of putting stuff together, content, guests, panels, etc. So give them my best.
Will indeed. And if anybody watching have any other questions, you know where to send them. Very happy to answer on all this sort of stuff.
It's just, I love these weekly conversations that you and I get to have on the live stream. We can talk politics, we can talk money, finance, all these kinds of things. And I feel that it gives you a great opportunity as well to just kind of share your thoughts in an unencumbered way, in almost like a very live stream of consciousness. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you making the time to do this with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Until next time, stay safe, stack, sats, hodl. You know the deal.